Good morning, and welcome to another derogatory episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your derisive and debilitating host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Alright, I'm not doing that many diatribes anymore. It's starting to become uninteresting to me, watching everybody jump on my bandwagon. But I will comment because some things are happening around the world and around what used to be this country. So, just make a few remarks about this and that. My main theme is going to be delusion and how the entire populace of what used to be this country are delusional. And I can't help but be amused by their attitude that there's a future. It's very funny. Now, snippet number one. It's interesting how things change and unexpected things happen. I'm referring to the election about a year ago of one John Fetterman, and everybody was absolutely amazed that someone who was incapacitated would win a seat in the U.S. Senate, although it shouldn't surprise anyone. But the irony is that it turns out, after a year or so, that Fetterman has rehabilitated himself, and he is probably the most reasonable D in the entire legislature. So that's interesting. He may not mean to be reasonable. Maybe it's a residual effect of his incapacitation, but somehow he's saying things that make sense by D standards, which means nothing. It doesn't mean that he is a coherent person, but when you say that John Fetterman is the most reasonable Democrat in the Congress, that's saying a lot. And he is reasonable. He says we need a strong border. He says that Israel has to defend themselves. And he goes against the grain of his fellow idiots. So I gotta hand it to Fetterman. And he may be presidential timber after all, but there won't be any more elections. And that's the delusion that I can't help but laugh at when I hear Hannity and the Five and all the other wags and touts talking about elections in the future. Oh, in 2028, this person will be a contender. 2028, that's a good one. They're delusional. There's not going to be any elections. There probably won't be one in 2024. Now, let me talk about that a bit. There are two candidates in the major parties running. We can forget about Nikki. She's just doing some sort of self-aggrandizing act. I'm not going to give up. Okay. Everybody's already saying what I've already said weeks ago. She's going to destroy her political career. But she seems to think that she has a chance. Okay. Let's just do away with that, and let's do away with RFK Jr., and let's do away with no labels and libertarians, because it's still not time for them yet, and it never will be. But we have two candidates that are not going to be allowed to win. So that's a bit of a pickle for what used to be the U.S., because neither candidate will be allowed to win. And we know why. Orangey will stymie the elitist world view and plans for a new planet, as I expostulated on in 2024 in retrospect, in review, where I explain how 6 billion people will be gone and they will have a new form of worldwide governance. So, no Orangey. That's not going to happen, and they will use any means necessary. They've tried it with weaponizing the justice system. It's not working. It's galvanizing him. It's galvanizing his supporters, and he is winning. And everyone who is going up against him seems to be imploding. There's some sort of a preternatural effect, some phenomena in this universe that means if you go against Orangey, you're going to end up somehow in trouble. So we can be happy about that, but if they can't use the justice system, they will have to use other means. Now, Petri dish. Everyone knows that he's hopeless. Everybody knows he's in the throes of dementia. Everyone knows that his senility will only get worse by the day. His gaffes are myriad, and he just can't be allowed to be president of what used to be this country anymore. Now they're going to try to impeach him, and they're not going to get it. It's not going to happen. And they're not even going to be able to impeach this Mayakas character. And at the rate they're going, they won't even get it to the vote before November because they're slower than crap. And what's going on with the damn Supremes? They haven't overturned this stupid-ass voting. You're guilty. You can't be on the ballot. We found you guilty. Without a charge. So the Supremes are sitting on their hands with that, and even when they do start voting on things, we have one wild card in there, the Chief Justice, who always manages to muck things up. He did it with a vote a few weeks ago, having something to do with Orangey or somebody else. I don't know who, but I can't even remember the details. I just know he mucked it up. Now, Petri dish or his handlers and puppet masters are realizing that this border situation is getting to the point where they're being destroyed by it. They're not going to make it because people are getting very, very, very angry at being displaced. Now, the whole concept of everybody coming in willy-nilly, hundreds of thousands by the month, and having no jobs and having nowhere to go and having no house and having no money and just being allowed to come in is absurd on its face. Prima facie. Totally absurd. Busing people into big cities, they're sleeping on the streets, or they're getting free housing, or they're taking over abandoned schools, or they're taking over community centers or parks or recreation or whatever else they're taking over. And people are getting sick of it. And the ironic part is the sickest people are the ones that supported Petri all the way and have supported the D's all the way. Now they're getting their effects from the causes they made. They were stupid. They should have always been voting Republicans. Republicans are the heroes of the downtrodden and the enslaved. And if you don't believe it, look at your history books. The D's have always been for slavery. And if they can't do it literally, they'll do it figuratively. That's obvious. But they're coming up with legislation in the Senate which is a useless organization, to solve this border problem once and for all. Because Petri Dish can't do anything. His hands are tied. After I reversed all of Orangey's policies the first day I was in office and opened the border up to everybody, I can't do a damn thing now. Now, the idiocy of the D's who think, well, about half the population of what used to be the United States hate Orangey. So it stands to reason that if we reverse everything that Orangey did as president, then half the people will love us. It's working out well, isn't it? A lot of the people that didn't vote for Orangey are now voting for Orangey because their neighborhoods are being overrun. Their lifestyle, their standard of living is being squashed into the ground. And the so-called administration says everything's fine. Now they come up with legislation to codify illegal entry. Instead of people coming in illegally, willy-nilly, we will limit it to 5,000 people a day. Now what, somebody's sitting there with a clicker? Oh, that's 5,000, okay, shut the gate. Come on, 5,000 a day. If you're caught twice trying to sneak in and we catch you, then you won't be allowed to try again for a year. So you're in the penalty box. And a bunch of other rules that are so stupid. All single males will be incarcerated when they cross the border. Yeah, right. Sure they will. Okay, so I talked to my kid who's overseas right now in the Middle East, and he is in the Arabian region. He's out of harm's way for now, but I have a feeling that he is going to be safer in the UAE or in Kuwait or Qatar than he is coming back to El Paso, because it looks like my prediction that I made on one of my very first diatribes going back to the beginning. I said that the first armed conflict involving ground troops, the next one would be at the southern border. And that's the way it looks like it's going to be, because they're sending all kinds of truckers, and they're sending all kinds of militias, and they're sending all kinds of support groups to help secure the border. And the federal troops are doing everything they can to stymie that effort. Now, it's only a matter of time before there's bloodshed. It's only a matter of time. 700,000 trucks. And they're going down there to help. Now, what's that going to mean? They're going to block the border with their trucks. Okay, that's one thing they can do. Then they're going to start having altercations, and they're going to start having confrontations with people crossing the border. And eventually, someone's going to get killed. And it'll probably be a migrant, and it'll probably be someone of the female or the juvenile persuasion, in order to create a brouhaha that these godless insurrectionists are killing women and children at the border. So that's what I see happening in the near future. I could go on, but I think I covered almost everything that I wanted to talk about. Everyone's delusional, thinking there will be an election. They're delusional, thinking there's a future. We are so close to all-out nuclear war that it's not even funny. They're deploying troops. They're deploying more reservists into the Middle East, Iraq, Syria. And I will offer my condolences to those who lost their loved ones in Jordan due to military incompetence, along with terrorism. You put the two together and you aren't going to have anything good. But I'm sorry for them. I'm sorry they have to be cannon fodder for this ridiculousness. But I'll come up with solutions to that later, because there are solutions, and it means leave them to their own devices. Get out. Forget about their oil, forget about their resources, and get out. And don't send any more money to anybody. We got enough problems of our own. Charity starts at home. And when I have extra money, I might give it to St. Jude's, or I might give it to the Salvation Army. Maybe $20, $30. But mostly I take care of myself first. So I'll leave it there. Everyone's delusional. They all know nothing, except for my stalwart fans who watch me. And thank you. And enjoy the day. Just wanted to get one in. And thanks. And bye.